Susan, and good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to see everyone here. Well, actually, I can only see a third of you, but we'll scroll around and see as the evening goes on. It's a pleasure, and I hope you'll find this informative. I want to introduce, we have Judy Dobson with us, who's our Controller Extraordinaire, and she will be leading us through to this evening's session. First of all, with a video from that will discuss last year's results and kind of a recap of the budget, which you hopefully have seen our earlier video that went into more detail. Also, John Anderson is present here. He is the chair of the Program Budget and Review Committee. And I saw earlier, yes, you're down here on the lower right corner of my screen, John. And I think I saw Scott Norris earlier, and Charlie Bauer are two other members of our group. I may have missed out on the others, but if you're there, Judy, I don't know if
John
Bill
Dutton
or John Dutton's present, but those are the other members of Program Budget and Review. So the budget has been through PB&R and recommended or approved by the Executive Committee for approval here at the Council. So with that, John, I don't know if you wanted to say a few words to start off this evening. John.
I actually don't have anything at all to say. I think if we're going to show the video and then take questions and answers, that's great.
Great, thanks, John. So Judy, it's all yours.
All right, thank you, John. I'm Judy Dobson, the Comptroller for the Diocese. Tonight, I'm going to tell you the story of the 2021 diocesan finances. You probably have been focusing on the 2022 budget, watching and listening to the budget presentation and asking excellent questions during your convocation meeting. Passing a sound and balanced budget is an essential duty for a delegate. However, we'd be amiss if we did not share the story of the 2021 finances. The good news is revenues came in higher than expenses in 2021. Parishes gave almost $58,000 more in pledges than what was budgeted. Thank you. I would also like to thank St. Michael's Episcopal Church Bon Air for their donations of over $106,000 to the diocese and $10,000 to Chenko and James. Thank you, Reverend Gotzi and the rest of the vestry for your leadership. We also received a $40,000 grant from the Episcopal Church to support our operations. The other good news is that our endowment funds held in the Southern Virginia Diocesan Foundation's Composite Fund continue to see growth over the past year of over 18%. The diocese has over $19,550,000 in the fund. In addition to reporting on our cash and investment income, I am pleased to say that the diocese, as of December 29, 2001, now holds the deed to the Church of the Messiah. For those who don't know, the Church of the Messiah officially broke away from the teachings and beliefs of the Episcopal Church in 2006. After numerous attempts by the diocese to have the church property returned to the Episcopal Church, the diocese filed a lawsuit. In 2020, the court ruled in favor of the diocese and ordered the property returned. The property is now listed on our financial statements with an assessed value of $2,145,100. Now that we reviewed the revenue side, let's look at the expense side. This pie chart represents the total amount of our expenses spent on various programs and support services. In 2021, expenses were a little more than $2.4 million. The Office of the Episcopate, in dark blue, is the largest expense category. These expenses include compensation and benefits of the bishop, canon to the ordinary, finance and administrative support staff, and other costs such as office, vehicle, audit, legal, and property expenses. As you probably heard in the budget presentation, we are moving to a smaller office. This will cut our rent expenses by 66% next year. Our new office is located approximately a mile from our current location. This means that we still are centrally located in the diocese with easy access from the interstate and plenty of parking spaces. Please visit us and see our new office this fall. Now let's take a closer look at the ministries within the diocese. This category, in light blue, makes up 32% of our expenses, or a little more than $785,700. This pie chart represents the total amount of expenses spent on ministries within our diocese. The largest category, mission and parish support, is found in blue in the upper right quadrant. As part of Bishop Haynes' 5 initiatives she introduced in her annual council speech last year, a canon, evangelist, and canon for diversity were added to the staff. The Reverend Canon Harlan is focused on supporting congregations and their leaders in building congregational vitality, sharing the good news of God's love in their communities, and helping each member deepen their spiritual life and discipleship. He is eager to visit your church on a Sunday to preach or teach, or any other time to meet with your leadership to explore ways to build up your communities of faith. The Reverend Canon Foster is focused on helping congregations understand that social diversity and social justice are two sides of the same coin. They cannot be separated, and both are needed to defeat the sins of inequity, oppression, and social injustice. Reverend Canon Foster will lead the hard conversations that will help the reconstruction of diocesan institutions and policies based on biblical principles of unity, love, and justice. The second largest category of ministries within our diocese is expenses associated with our camp and retreat center, Chanco on the James. The diocese provided $140,000 to support its operations and provide over $35,000 in donated services. In 2021, the Diocesan Executive Board pledged another $300,000 toward Chanco's capital campaign. $100,000 was pledged each year beginning this year. Christian formation and outreach ministries are tied for our third largest ministries. Canon Farland's compensation is included in Christian formation category as she oversees Christian formation for the diocese. As many of you may have heard in the budget presentation, the diocese is investing $75,000 into a new leadership training program. It is called the Diocesan Congregational Development Institute, or DCDI, which focuses on developing the spiritual community and organizational life of congregations. This is part of the bishop's 5 initiatives. This training program began in the fall of 2021 with a small group of people and continues into 2022 when the bulk of the money is spent. Outreach funds supported the Boys' Home, the Jacksonfield Homes, the Historic Christ Church, the Addiction and Recovery Ministry, the Prison Ministry, the Mission of the Holy Spirit, the Westminster Canterbury Foundation, the Bishop Vacher Scholarship Fund, and poverty relief programs. Youth Ministries is represented on the pie chart in yellow, and College and Young Adult Ministries is represented in gray. Megan Dern, our youth missioner, is at the helm of both ministries. Megan is looking forward to 2022 when she hopes to return to hosting in-person events such as EYC and Happening. On the pie chart in orange, clergy, seminarian, and aspirants are supported with educational scholarships and programs. The clergy enjoyed their first in-person clergy conference event since the fall of 2019. Father Mario Melendez continues his ministry work as a Latino missioner. This past year, Father Mario hosted an event called Faith and Justice that responded to questions about the latest efforts to improve living and working conditions for migrants and farm workers. Now, let's take a deeper look at our overall expenses in 2021. Partnerships and contributions, seen on the pie chart in yellow, make up our third largest expense category in 2021. As we ask for your church to pledge to the diocese, well, the Episcopal Church asks the diocese to pledge to them. Our pledge to the Episcopal Church in 2021 was a little over $266,000 and was based upon 15% of the 2019 total adjusted operating income. Other expenses in this category are the bishop's discretionary expenses and support for ecumenical groups. The communications expenses, seen in gray on the pie chart, came in slightly under budget. Ben Ucritti is our new communications specialist. His job is to develop our virtual space and build community and communication throughout our churches in the diocese and beyond. Governance is our smallest expense category. Most of the expenses in this category provide reserve funds for the Bishop's Search and Transition, General Convention, and the Lambeth Conference. Without funds in reserve, balancing a budget in those years when these events occur would be difficult, if not impossible, without making significant sacrifices. General Convention and the Lambeth Conference are taking place this year, and some of those funds placed in reserve in previous years will be used. So, given all the activity during the year with revenues coming in and expenses going out, what does our balance sheet look like at the end of 2021? Here is our statement of financial position, or the balance sheet for those who work in the for-profit corporate world. Our assets are a little more than $26,337,000. Assets consist of cash, investments, loans, and property. As you can see, most of our assets are invested. Of our investments in cash, a little more than $14,600,000 is restricted. Approximately $6,140,000 has been designated by the Executive Board, and a little more than $5,242,000 is unrestricted. Most of our liabilities, $300,000 to be exact, record our Chanco pledge that we will pay over the next 3 years. And $32,200 is deferred revenue that will be recorded as revenue in 2022. This sums up the statement of financial position. To sum up the story of the 2021 diocesan finances is that we lived within our budget and we have a financially healthy diocese with liquidity going into 2022. Now let's move on to the 2022 budget. The first line under revenues is unrestricted contributions. Annual pledges are included in this budget line. Annual church pledges are budgeted higher this year to reflect what is anticipated. The other revenue budget line decreased by about $45,000. Earlier, I told you about the $40,000 grant the diocese received from the Episcopal Church. We do not expect to have this grant available this year. That is why this line decreased. The designated and restricted funds budget line is significantly higher in 2022. As you recall from our budget presentation, we are drawing more than our 5% endowment spending policy to cover our expenses. This is similar to our experiences with our own personal finances when we sometimes need to withdraw money from savings for essential spending. Mission and parish support line increased because we will have the entire year's salaries of the Canon for Diversity and the Canon for Evangelism. Camp Ministries has a $100,000 increase from the 2021 budget. As you will remember from our camp discussion, we will be paying $100,000 of our $300,000 pledge this year. The Christian Formation budget line increased to pay for DCDI, the leadership training program I spoke about earlier. The governance budget line increased because General Convention, held every 3 years, and Lambeth Conference, held every 10 years, will occur this year. Most of the money to pay for these expenses will come from designated reserve funds. The Office of the Episcopate, the last line above total expenses, decreased by about $145,000 compared to the 2021 budget because the Canon for Administration is retiring and will not be replaced. This sums up the 2022 budget. Are there any questions?
All right. Does anyone have any questions about what we did in 2021? And of course, we'll definitely take questions over the 2022 budget too. Does anyone have any comments?
Folks, you can feel free to unmute yourself and just say your question aloud. Don't need to worry about chat or anything like that.
I'd like to make a comment, if I may. I am Scott Norris. I have served longer on the PBNR committee than any of the other current members. And I'm very happy to report that the people we have on the committee now are the best that I have served with over these many years. I am very excited about being a part of this committee.
Thank you, Scott.
Judy, I thought I saw Ellen Gilliam with her hand up. Is that right?
Well, I just wanted to thank Judy and everyone else involved with doing the work to make this somewhat such that we could understand it at least a little bit. In fact, much more than I expected to. I appreciate the work everyone put into this.
Thank you, Alan. Any other questions, comments? I don't see any.
While people think of their question, I'll just say, I think one of the side benefits, if you will, of the pandemic is these video presentations that we've been kind of forced to create for this. I think the work that, you're quite the voiceover person, Judy. I think you have a future maybe in this, and John as well. These have been great, and it's been real joy for me to be on the PBNR this year. As a first-year member in the chair, it's a little daunting, even with the financial background that I have. But it is, in fact, as Scott said, a super group, and learning things on the fly and doing good work. So good.
Thank you, John. All right.
I have one simple question, I hope. I heard in the talk that the drawdown from the investments is greater than the 5%, but I didn't hear what the percentage is, and I might have just missed it. Do you know what the percentage is of drawdown from the investments?
It's about 8%.
Okay,
But keep in mind too, we budget very conservatively. We plan for the worst. Hopefully we won't have to draw down, 8%. Hopefully we'll only be 6%. Thank you for your question.
I just wanted to add my comments. This is Michael Stone in Christchurch, Amelia, thanking Judy for that excellent presentation, and thanking all of the committee for doing such good work, and for the work it takes all year to keep a budget working as you've planned it, particularly in a year that's insane in the whole world and in some parts of the church. I think this is remarkable work, and the percentage return you're getting, I know your drawback's higher, but you said you're getting 18% on the composite fund, so that probably makes it easier to do a larger drawdown. So thanks for that. And in response to John Anderson, thanks for your comments, and I agree. We have saved a bunch of money doing these meetings this way and all kinds of good stuff, but I really don't want us to lose track of the fact that we still need to find ways to be together physically when the pandemic allows us to do that. There are great advantages to the electronic stuff, and we were already 30 years behind. COVID forced us to catch up, frankly, with where we should have been all along. But I hope we don't go too far with it and forget that that the body of Christ is made up of a collection of bodies. And I really miss being with people. And I'm hoping we will go back to that. And I understand that in the future, we'll probably still do a lot of this way, but I don't want us to lose counsel and other opportunities for people in the diocese to be in the same room and share our love with each other. So just that's one little voice from out in the wilderness.
I concur, Michael. I mean, it's nice doing these video presentations, but it would be much nicer if we could do it in person and see and just talk and have conversations.
Absolutely.
What are the costs that are paid for as far as the Lambeth and the larger council this year? I assume they're going to be in person this year. And does that cover the travel and whatever for everyone that goes, or is it just a certain group of people that it covers?
It's just a certain group of people that goes to General Convention. And the good news there is we don't, a lot of that money that we're going to be spending on General Convention this year is coming from reserve funds that we've saved up for the last 3 or 4 years. So that's why we don't have to spend that much money this year. I mean, the revenue, we already have it. It's in reserve funds, and we're going to draw it out and use that. The Lambeth conference, that is, I believe, in July. And again, most of that, the reservation was paid for back in 2019. So the expenses there are about $7,000. $13,000 was already paid for. So.
And is that for the council fee, and it's also to pay for people that actually go to those?
The Lambeth conference, that's where $13,000 was already paid for, and that was paid for in 2019. So we are estimating about $7,000 this year. As far as General Convention goes, again, we're estimating about 40,000, between 40 and 45,000. And we already have almost $40,000 in reserve.
And Judy, that includes the travel and everything. That's not just the conference fee, right?
Everything it costs to go to General Convention, everything it costs to go to Lambeth.
Hi, I'm Martha Underwood from Christ Church in Smithfield. I was curious, I noticed that we finally got the land back from Church of Messiah. Is there any plans for selling that property or using that property for ministry or anything like that?
Judy, would you like me to speak to that?
Please do.
Okay, so at this time, there is not any plan to sell the property. It does currently have tenants in it, and we are negotiating a lease with them that through which they will be charged with maintaining the capital property or the capital improvements on the property and maintaining repairs and that sort of thing. And then there will also be kind of like what I call an escape clause, where if we decide that we need the property for any reason, they would need to vacate it within a period of months, and the lease would, then expire. So at this point, we are not in a position to sell the property, nor are we desiring to.
Hey, thank you, Bishop Susan. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bishop.
I do want to express my appreciation to the chancellors for their work with the property with Church of the Messiah, and express my relief that that road has been completed. We have finished traveling that.
All right, well, I don't see anyone that has any questions. If you think of a question, you can certainly email me or call me. My email address and my phone number is on our website. So, and you can also email John Fogarty or John Anderson.
Judy, I just to close out, I'd like to thank you and all the members of PB&R. I know others have said this, it's an outstanding group, and I'm very pleased to be part of it and to work with Judy on the budget. And I can assure you, Judy is one of the most conscientious people imaginable. I'm sure some of you already know that, but she watches over our finances like a hawk. So we're in great hands, and thank you very much. And all of you for your interest tonight.
Thank you for those very kind words, John. It's been a very, it's been just, I'm going through, you're teaching me a lot, and I appreciate that. And I'm so glad to have John Anderson on board. Thank you.
And I would like to add my words of appreciation. I think with Judy Dobson and John Fogarty, we secretly call them among the staff the dynamic duo. We just cannot believe our good fortune and the way that they are leading us, and then also to express my gratitude to all of the members of PB&R. I just feel very confident in their work, and that is such a relief as a bishop to have folks like that. So thank you.
All right. Well, I think this concludes. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you, Judy and John.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good
See you
night.
tomorrow.